This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/trekfm. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Hello and welcome to Tracks from the Edge, Trek FM show in which we provide audio commentary for every episode of Star Trek, at least the new ones. Wouldn't it be weird if we went back and did all the others?
Weird? What? Spinoff?
That's going down a road that I don't think I want to go down. I'm Mike.
I'm Max.
And today we're going to be providing audio commentary for Season 2, Episode 3 of Star Trek Discovery. So, this episode, as we've discussed elsewhere, there's a new writer on staff. His name is Andrew Colville, and he wrote this episode. Mm-hmm. He also wrote the High Ally episode of Mad Men.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. You've never seen it, right?
Oh, God, no. No.
I'm
just a big fan of High Ally and High Ally related fiction.
I find it so strange that you don't like Mad Men.
Oh, it's not that I don't like it.
It's that you can't stand it.
I just don't know. It's not that I don't like it, and it's not that I can't stand it. It's that I just can't bring myself to care.
It just seems weird. I mean, like, I'm not saying, like, because I know, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff which is really, really great, which you don't like, you know, Magnolia, for example. But, like, it doesn't...
Because that's a mess. It's a calamity.
It doesn't surprise me that you don't like Magnolia. It surprises me that you don't like Mad Men. But whatever.
It's not... I never said I don't like it. It's that I don't seem to care.
Okay, but the fact of the matter is...
When I watch it, I'm like, yeah, this is well done. I'm going to keep watching this someday.
But the fact of the matter is you watch everything, and you still haven't seen Mad Men. That's weird. It's just straight up weird. Anyway.
All right.
So Andrew Colville, he wrote Mad Men, specifically the High Ally episode. He's written a number of other things, including a few episodes of the 4400 and some other stuff. So that's cool. This episode is directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, who is the lead director on Discovery. He's basically the showrunner of directors, for lack of a better term. I guess lead director would be a better term.
That's a good term.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go with that one.
So he directed this episode, and hey, they just announced, you know, because they're doing those 2 animated short treks after the season is over with, which are going to be Discovery related, and Olatunde Osunsanmi is going to be directing one of them. And the other one...
Be interesting.
Sure, yeah, it will be, especially since they're having like different styles and everything. The other one is going to be directed by Michael Giacchino.
Yeah, that's weird, honestly.
He has directed...
It's not crazy?
No, but it's cool. Like, whenever someone, you know, gets to break out of the little box that, you know, the industry has placed them in.
Yeah, the little, you know, scoring every giant movie box that pays for 17 houses. Those boxes.
Right. But those boxes where they say, like, you're the music guy, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of cool that someone's like, you're the music guy, but as someone who has scored every single blockbuster for the past 10 years or so, you've probably learned a thing or two about making movies. So we're going to let you make a movie.
Yeah, use those two things.
And he did direct like a short film, I think starring Patton Oswalt, but I haven't seen it. And I don't think it's animated. I say...
It's too bad.
I say they should get Brad Bird to do the music, and they set it in the Mirror Universe because it's, like the opposite.
I get it.
Okay. All right, cool. Anyway, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
This spring.
Uh-huh.
But that's pretty much it.
I'm looking forward to these animated things.
I'm looking forward to them too, animated Trek. Hey.
It kind of seems like, like the idea is like, oh, let's put a toe in there and just see how much people freak out. Because if they freak out enough, that might get people watching. And if they don't freak out, that might mean we're safe. So,
well, they've already committed to 2 seasons of this Lower Decks show. So either way.
But you know how it goes. You can make a thing and then bury it. It can be a thing that nobody pays attention to because they're not marketing it. I mean, that happens all the time.
I mean, hey, there's apparently 50 fully produced episodes of a Star Wars animated show, which has never seen the light of day. So I guess stranger things have happened. Anyway, so should we start this up?
Oh, why not? Let's do this thing.
Okay. So we're at, 8 seconds on the counter approximately right after the CBS logo has cut to black. Or whatever logo you may have in your neck of the woods. Like if you have that new cool Netflix logo or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I don't know. What if it's some crazy future platform that doesn't cut to black in between? What if it cuts to an aubergine? Well, then there's no hope. I don't even know why you would bother trying to sync this up. Game over. Yeah. So, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to give a countdown, and then we're going to start this all up simultaneously, unless you're driving, in which case do not watch this episode while you're driving. Or if you're watching this in the future and it cuts to an aubergine screen and your car is driving itself, go ahead. Yeah, I guess in that case. Yeah. All right, so if you're ready, Max. Oh, I've been ready for so long, man. We will start this up. In 3, 2, 1, start. There's a ship on the screen. Previously on Star Trek Discovery in Klingon. Yep, they said it in Klingon, which they've done before. Yeah. And I still think, come on, guys. That's... Well, you're having some fun. Yeah, they're having some fun, and I think it was more fun the first time because it was in the middle of some really, really deep, dark stuff. And, this time it's just kind of hey, but it's cool. Yeah. I'm glad that they addressed the Tilly's ghost thing here. Cause in the last episode, it was who cares about everything else that's going on? Tilly is talking to a ghost. Yeah. That is number 1 on the priorities list here, guys. Mm-hmm. That is the most interesting thing happening. Yeah, well, most of the time, whatever's happening with Tilly is the most interesting thing happening. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, lots of Klingon backstory here, and we are into the episode proper. Stardate 10/29/46. This is a cool little thing. This shot, with the ship flying by it, very, I'm going to say Star Wars prequel. Take that, Discovery. No, I mean that as a compliment. I think that it's, they do a really good job of ship flybys and... Wow. Well, let me speak for the internet and say that is not how that statement was received. Well, you know what? Sometimes the internet's wrong about things. Well, not the Star Wars prequels. I like the Star Wars prequels quite a bit. Okay, so, hey, look at those cool new disco t-shirts, which, as soon as this episode dropped,
Oh boy.
You could go on to StarTrek.com and buy some.
Is this whole show just a way of marketing shirts?
Have you not heard of Gene Roddenberry and his original vision for Star Trek, which was to make as much money as possible, whether it be creating the IDIC so that he could sell it online, because he could sell things online back in 1966.
No, not familiar with it.
Writing lyrics for the theme song so that he could take like half the royalties or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good, smart businessman.
They are just following the Roddenberry vision of making lots and lots of money. So
they're following the Roddenberry vision of today.
No, it was 1966 too. I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, of making as much money in your capitalist society as possible. Because honestly, the only way to get to the future like this is for everybody to have so many resources that you never have any need for anything else. So in that sort of abundance economy, everybody would be pretty chill to each other all the time.
Yeah. I'm making fun of it and everything, and I'm talking about how they're, playing Star Trek fans for, the suckers that they are for buying a shirt with a different colored font just because it appears on this show. But
yep.
I ordered mine.
Yeah, you're buying that shirt.
I already did. It's in the mail, so take that as you will.
So you're basically by like making that joke, you're saying honestly, look at me. I'm a sucker for this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We were joking. Like I was talking, I was talking about Lee Hutchison about this on the Nerd Party on our little Slack channel. And he's like, they must make so much money off of those shirts. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to see like a new shirt, like every week, because that is what it is, but good for them, hey, and I'm going to keep on buying them. They've got one which is like a Section 31 shirt, and I can't tell whether it's like, are we going to see that, or are they just like, saying like, oh, well, this is what it would be if Section 31 had t-shirts, There's that line in the Captain Marvel trailer where he hands her the shield hat, and she's like, is this how you keep your cover, by wearing shield logos on baseball caps?
This is bumming me out, man.
But I got my Section 31, black pin.
God, why would they make that?
Because they look cool. That's why.
Oh God, I know that you're like you buy stuff from movies and TV shows, and like you get into that, and like I have to really argue the case to myself for a long time before I'm willing to make the call and get something. Mm-hmm. Like I look at a t-shirt for days, and I'm like, yeah, and Steve Harrington, I should get him on a shirt.
And if you think that Max is exaggerating from this shirt, I can tell you from looking at him right now that he's currently wearing an Oak Park River Forest High School gym shirt.
Yeah.
And you haven't gone to that school for what,
24 years?
Yeah, okay. So that's cool.
Yeah. Also, there's a 50-50 shot that this one was stolen. And there is 100% shot that the one that I stole, I did so without really being aware of it at the time.
That's how it works.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're into the credits right now, and one of the interesting things is that in the list of credits, like last year for the main cast members, there were 6, and even when they didn't appear in an episode, they were still in the credits. Like specifically, Jason Isaacs, he wasn't in the first 2 episodes or the last 2 episodes, I guess, but he was still in the credits for the whole season. And right here, Wilson Cruz, who's been in the credits up until this point, if I'm not mistaken, is not in the credits.
Oh, boy.
And Shazad Latif, who hasn't been in the credits this season, is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we have 7 regulars, but only 6 at a time. It's kind of like hockey, where like you gotta one regular needs to check in and the other one needs to. I don't know hockey terms. I'm not a hockey fan. I enjoy watching it, but I don't know hockey terms.
I don't know if it's so much like hockey as it is
a line change. There needs to be a line change. I got it.
They don't pay that much attention or care that much about the names in the credits.
Oh, maybe they don't, but their agents do.
Oh, for sure, their agents do. But it doesn't honestly matter what names are in the credits. Like the people in the episode are going to be the people in the episode. Like,
yeah,
that's not significant enough. It's just they're playing a different game than the one that the agents are playing.
Yeah. So here we are on the Klingon homeworld. They're talking about the new ship, the D7.
Yep. And once again, the continuity nerd in me gets into a fight with the other continuity nerd in me, and they both end up dead.
You're like the Voke Tyler of continuity nerds.
Yeah. And there's a third person who's like, okay, I know that the Klingon biology doesn't make sense, but they are fixing like the ship design thing and the Klingon like civilization architecture. Like they're fixing that, so like that's good. And the other guy is like, well, what about what happened on Enterprise? Are they retconning Enterprise? And then the third one is like, I'm hungry and I hope they retcon Enterprise.
Well, they do the hair thing, and that was interesting because I don't think they ever like specifically say it in the show, but like in the design of the Klingons, I mean, one of the things which they talked about, the makeup guys and the designers, they talked about how like the Klingon skulls were kind of designed after like, I don't know what it is, like Python skulls or something, or Python bodies that have like those little sensor pockets or something which go all the way down the back, and the idea is like in wartime you need to have
sensor arrays.
In wartime you need to have all of your sensor pits visible so that exposed.
You got to show your sensor pits.
Yeah, so that you're at full awareness or whatever. But
technically they weren't at war in the first episode, but whatever. What are you going to do?
But after you're not at war, you can let your hair down.
Okay.
Over your sensor pits.
Sure. Yeah. And then, you can put on some skin smoothing cream because, your skin needs to get smooth because that's the trend at the time. Is that how we're explaining? Are we retconning Enterprise? Guys, what's going on?
Well, Enterprise says that there's going to be some with foreheads and some without.
Okay.
Yeah.
That solves everything, doesn't it? It's such a fuzzy way of solving the problem. It's like, oh yeah, those guys are the ones that dealt with the Federation. Yeah. What about the times that they bumped into them in random places?
It is what it is.
I'm going to make a sandwich, and I hope they retcon Enterprise.
So here we are with Amanda, and she's gone now. Never mind.
You're being so screen specific, bro. Amazing work. So screen specific.
All right. So L'Rell and Voke doing their thing, ruling the Klingons. You know what this reminds me of? The Wire. Have you ever seen a show called The Wire? I'm starting to think that you haven't seen any TV shows these days. Have you ever seen this show called The Wire?
Yeah, I've seen The Wire.
Okay. So, you know how in like season 1 of The Wire, like you follow like the criminals and you follow the law enforcement, and, the two of them are obviously intertwined, just like the Klingons and the humans in this show in season 1. But then
it's a lot like The Wire.
But then in season 2 of The Wire, like the the law enforcement people are following some different criminals, but those first criminals are still dealing with the fallout. And you have like two stories which have nothing to do with each other anymore, aside from the fact that they both like spun out of what happened when they were connected. And the whole time you're like, why do we keep on watching all of these, quote unquote bad guys from season 1 when that's not what this story is about? And then you get to like the end of season 2 and then the stories intertwine again. And you're like, oh my God, this is like the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. That's kind of what this reminds me of.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I'm just saying.
Sure.
I mean, you see what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like this also very clearly shows how inextricably linked law enforcement is to the criminal economy, and how they do both feed into the lifestyle of every person in the greater Baltimore area. I understand these are very similar shows.
This is what I'm saying. But no, I mean, but seriously, like I feel like that's what's going to happen this year. I feel like,
I think that's the idea.
Laurel and Tyler or Voke are off doing their thing, and then the Enterprise or the Discovery,
yep.
whatever it is.
Fine. Let's make this mistake. Let's make this mistake now.
Yeah. Oh,
let's get it confused.
Oh,
I'm sure this happens in the writers' room all the time.
What's going on right now? He's looking at a screen.
Oh yeah, he sure is.
And they're like, boy, you're like the only person I know who looks at this screen.
And Pike is like, I know one other guy.
Yeah, they're like, I'm old school. I'm old school. Yeah. I'm not into those holograms. Isn't this what I was saying? This is what I was saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Come on.
Okay, they're making a comeback, all right? That some people just like the screens. They just like things in 2D.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Eventually, we're gonna. Oh, God, no, this doesn't work. You can't just.
Captain Pike is the Christopher Nolan of the 23rd century.
Bro, nobody's writing letters to each other, all right? Technology kind of goes in one direction. There's a little bit of fluctuation. Some people are early adopters and some people are late adopters. Nobody is not adopting. Like, eventually everyone's going to be doing the same things.
Did you see that quote, Christopher Nolan asked Steven Soderbergh?
No.
Okay. All right, we won't go there.
Did you see that quote? Christopher Nolan asked Steven Soderbergh, and I'm like, what websites are you on?
Oh, the internet.
Oh, God.
Okay, so here we're looking at Spock's logs. It's kind of interesting to see them refer to him as Lieutenant Spock because, I mean, yeah, obviously he is Lieutenant Spock, but like we've only known him as Lieutenant Spock in the history of Star Trek for like a couple episodes, He's been Lieutenant Commander Spock, but
Captain Spock,
and
Ambassador Spock,
but
and then good old Spock, Spock's Mackenzie, and like they came up with lots of different things. But
I'm not Spock.
Lieutenant Spock. I'm not Spock. Turns out I am Spock. Those phases, Zachary Quinto, like he went through a lot of different phases.
Yeah. But he was only
Spock
Lieutenant Spock for just a little bit. But here he's Lieutenant Spock. He's good old Lieutenant Spock. There's something refreshing about
crazy.
it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So here we are once again talking about the rift between Spock and Michael Burnham, and once again I don't care. and there's this point where like Michael's like, oh yeah, the like, the logic fundamentalists. So obviously that's a bummer. But like, they were a problem. So like I had to get him away from me. So like I had to really wound him. And she's like, what did you do? And Michael doesn't say anything. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't get this.
Well,
who cares?
I mean, I have to say that it was kind of frustrating, and especially since we know that we will find out eventually. But
I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. And here we have
also if I were Spock and I were in this situation and I hadn't spoken to an adopted sister for a couple decades,
it wasn't that long. Was it?
I don't know how long it was, but whatever the number is, the only thing I can think of would be really weird because Amanda's standing right there, and it would be oh yeah, I don't know what it is, and when I realize I don't know what it is, and I can't think of what it is, I don't care what it is, so I stop thinking about it.
Yeah, who knows what it is? I mean, I guess we'll find out what it is, but I don't really know if we gain much from the mystery, and you're right that this season seems to be a lot about mystery, and I guess the thing about it is I'm all for a good mystery, but this one just is not a very intriguing mystery. I'm really not feeling this season as much as I was the first season, because I almost feel like
we're coming up on something that I really can't stand in this episode.
Okay. I feel like the first season was sort of built to tell a story. Everything about it, it wasn't let's set up a premise and then tell stories with that premise. It was saying here is a story.
Boom. No, don't do this.
See, I like that.
Don't do this.
I like that. That's cool. I'm down with that.
I see that, and I think the director is on set, and he's like, I have this interesting idea.
Yeah.
I want to do this thing. Can we build a half set and a half set?
Do you think
whoa, that's super expensive. That's super expensive.
I think they just
Let's just composite it in a way that makes it look like we built a half set.
But you can see the steam roll.
Yeah. So we really put a lot of effort into it so that when people are watching it, they're going to be thinking, did they build a half set and a half set and smoosh them together? Did they do that? So basically what we're doing by making this shot is making the audience think about how this isn't real.
I don't know. It worked for me. It worked for me for sure. But yeah, see the thing about it that is the first season I feel was built to tell that story from the ground up. It wasn't trying to tell a story within the premise of a show. It was trying to tell a story and created a show around that story. So with season 2, I feel the story has been told, and now we're telling another story inside the premise of that show. And I think it doesn't work as well. Does that make sense?
I don't disagree. I mean, I know what you're saying. You're saying the original idea for this thing was to, explore the Star Trek universe in a lot of different ways, from a lot of different perspectives, with different time periods and different characters. Well, to be almost a kind of expanded anthology version of Star Trek.
Well, that's what it was, and I mean, that's really cool. But I mean, even beyond that, once that we've gotten away from that and we're saying well, we're just doing a show called Discovery and it's going to be set on this ship. It's it's still okay, well, season 1 is going to be about the war between humans and Klingons. And it's okay. Yeah. So everything from, Burnham's backstory all the way on up through Captain Lorca and everything like that, that's all designed to tell that story.
Is it? Because I mean, the whole Discovery, Spore Drive, Mirror Universe, Captain, role swapping, in the Mirror Universe, hiding out, coming back to the regular universe and ending the war. Those are a lot of different disparate threads that all kind of got wove together in some ways kind of sloppily, but it worked because they had early on established a few we're gonna be jumping from story to story, so crazy dramatic are we gonna jump that we need to establish a sci-fi concept to illustrate how little we care about how far away these threads are. So, there's a lot going on into that. And then after that, they're like, okay, we gotta actually, have a direction and not be so crazy. Cause we went all over the place last season. And I would say it's almost the exact opposite of that problem. I don't think that they designed season 1 from the ground up around this concept. That season is bananas. There are so many things going on. I think that the show and that season were written simultaneously, composing what the show was going to be based on the season, composing what the season was going to be based on the show. And now they're trying to figure out what the show is when it isn't driven by, who does the second antagonist need to be in order for the second mirror universe twist to work? Without that, what is this show?
I mean, I guess that's what I find kind of less exciting about it,
Well, I mean, to me, I think that that's the most real version. I think what we're seeing here is is the inverse of the original paradigm, because the sloppiness of that season, I think, is kind of being rectified now, because we're earning our plot twists, and hopefully they're more interesting than because I don't think they're gonna beat Mirror Universe Lorca for plot twists and stuff, but I want it to be significant enough that what they're doing matters in retrospect. When we rewatch this, eventually we're gonna say oh yeah, this nonsense with the baby was a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, that could be, and I could kind of see that with some stuff already early on. I mean, there was something that was brought up on Twitter, which I hadn't thought of, but the idea of the Red Angels brought them to the asteroid field in season 1, and they picked up that asteroid, and then they needed to use that asteroid. I said season 1, episode 1. Then they needed to use that asteroid in episode 2 in order to save the people that the Red Angels brought them to, right? So it's oh, hey, I mean, things like that, which I would have never thought of. But it does seem like there is that sort of continuity going on, even though it's not spoken,
If they just go oh yeah, the Red Angels know exactly what you're going to do ahead of time. They've thought through every permutation of what happens. So their mysterious appearance hundreds of years ago and their mysterious appearances now. Oh yeah, they're really smart. They planned basically an entire season of television for you, full of crazy weird coincidences that don't really make sense when you think about them, unless you imagine there's a super intelligent civilization that's pulling all the strings, kind of not dissimilar fundamentally from what people say about God.
I mean, it is interesting. It kind of goes back to that thing, you always talked about, where if they do a sequel to Galaxy Quest, they should make the villain, I guess you could say, a alien, a deity like alien, in classic original series fashion, but it's the creator of the show. It's essentially the Gene Roddenberry of Galaxy Quest.
I said the only logical sequel to Galaxy Quest is they reveal the Gene Roddenberry-esque creator of the original show, and he is an alien like Q.
Yeah.
And he made this show because he thought it would be a goof. and he was just having a grand old time. He was like, it's crazy. These people don't even know I'm not even making this up. This is just basically, I'm writing down a bunch of stuff that happened, and it's like, oh my God, they don't even know that this is going to happen again. Oh, it's hilarious. That guy in that one episode, he's going to be funny.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Anyway, so here's Laurel and Voke, and they have a kid. A little baby Klingon who's very cute.
There was a point where when I was watching this, my wife was addressing the baby. She was like, "Wait, is that Worf?" And I was like, "What? What? Wait, no. What?" First of all, Worf doesn't have albinism. Second of all, Worf isn't born for another good chunk of time. And third of all, his parents were killed at the Battle of Khitomer by Ram. Get it together. What is going on?
And was her response like, "Why do you know all this stuff?"
No, her response was, "Yeah."
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot all of that. And I was like, I didn't and never will. It's in there until I die.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting
that's not great.
that we do bring up Worf here because they pull a Colonel Worf here, right? Mm-hmm. Where the actor who played, what was his name? Cole in season 1, the big bad Klingon who they kill in the mid-season finale or whatever it was. That's when it happens, right? Pretty sure. Yeah. And so he that same actor comes back to play his father or grandfather in this one.
Mm-hmm. And he gets name dropped.
Yeah. And it's
because you remember that guy when that guy.
Yeah, I remember that guy. It's like the best episode of the show,
Oh my God, that one random Klingon.
He wasn't a random Klingon. He was like the big bad Klingon.
Oh my God, they're all random Klingons.
They're not. No, they're not.
Oh God, guys, come on.
So here is, there's a lot of this episode to me feels like the second to the last episode of season 2, where they're like, we've got a lot of stuff that we just need to get through in terms of
the second to the last episode of season 2.
Season 1, sorry, second to the last episode of season 1. There's like a lot of backstory and everything. There's a lot of table setting that needs to happen. Like it feels like this episode. What?
Tablescaping.
Tablescaping?
Don't worry about it. Keep going.
Okay. It feels like there's just not much going on in this episode. It feels like this episode is just kind of like putting things in place for future episodes.
Yeah, that's what the show is doing.
I mean, maybe so.
It's been doing this for a while.
I don't really get that, because like last week's episode tells a complete story even within that. And I'm not saying that that's necessary. And I'm not even saying that I necessarily like that. I like the idea that this is just a piece of a larger whole. And maybe, in a 14-hour story, you're going to take an hour in the middle to, just have some exposition. But I'm not sure how well it works as a single episode
of television.
Yeah.
Like, is this its own story? Does this story work on its own?
Yeah. And that's really something that I never really thought of as even being a thing that the writers really thought of until no. I mean, because you hear people say like, well, it's just part of a larger story, and it's not doesn't have its own arc necessarily. It's just a piece of a larger arc. But
yeah, that's the That's the continuity-driven storytelling of modern television, and it is something that I find vexing.
Well, I mean, it's weird because like you hear Ron Moore talk about like the 3-hour finale of Battlestar Galactica and how when they aired it originally, they aired part 1 and then they aired parts 2 and 3 back to back on the following week. And that bothered him because he felt that chopping off that first third of the 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
He said like it's not an episode of it's not an episode. It's just the first third of an episode.
He's not wrong.
And it bothered him that people were watching it separately. He thought it should be viewed as one complete thing. I agree. I thought that was like an interesting thing, and it's something that I hadn't really ever thought of. You know, I guess I had thought of it because there was a commentary on an episode on the DVD of 24 with Shannon Doherty for some reason.
Wait, what? What?
Because apparently she's...
Shut up. 2 questions. Number 1, you were watching an episode of 24 with a commentary track.
Yeah.
Number one, deal breaker, fundamental problem going on. Number 2, Shannon Doherty was on this commentary?
Yeah, because apparently she's a huge fan of 24. And they were like, oh, you are? Well, then how about you come and do a commentary with,
oh my God,
the writer or something. And
oh my God.
And on the and on the commentary, they say to her, like, so what's your favorite episode of the show? And I thought that was such a bizarre question because
oh my God, that's hilarious.
I really see it as being like one complete thing,
I agree. It is one complete thing that is best avoided. I mean, like
24 is great.
I mean, you nailed it. No, it's a great thing that to think about as being all one thing. Because when you think of it that way, you realize it is a lot of nonsense.
I love that show, especially the first couple seasons. But yeah,
those first couple days.
Yeah. Speaking of Battlestar Galactica, boy, I mean, this is a straight up head character, isn't it? Like they're not even playing with that.
Yeah, we addressed that last week.
No, I know we addressed that last week, but I think after we addressed that last week, when I'm watching it this week, I'm like, I mean, she's Baltar,
Yeah, she's Baltaring.
And I mean, I guess you can do that. Like, you see it here and you're like, can you do that? Because they did that. They did that on Battlestar Galactica. And, it's a very famous thing. It's like
can
someone
do that. They did that on Grey's Anatomy.
Well,
this is not a thing that was
Grey's
made
Anatomy.
up for Battlestar Galactica.
But that's like, it's like, okay, there may have been movies prior to Pulp Fiction that used Miseraloo on their soundtrack, but you can't use Miseraloo now because of Pulp Fiction, although they did in Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, but it always bothered me. So
that's what bothers you about Charlie's Angels Full Throttle.
That's the only thing. I mean, this movie's great, but
my list starts way higher than that one.
But regardless, I mean, I guess it has been like 16 years since that show started.
Wow.
I guess it's time. I guess it's time that we, that we start stealing from Battlestar Galactica in the same way that Battlestar Galactica stole from Star Trek, right?
No, because Battlestar Galactica didn't create that concept.
Okay. It just mastered it. Sure.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, it really nailed the way you use that concept. And I mean, honestly, in retrospect, like, you have to have a character like Baltar to carry a head character throughout the entirety of a show. Otherwise, like, not even 2 episodes in, they're going to be like, okay, so I'm seeing things. I'm crazy now. And then somebody's going to try to break it down and figure out what's going on with this character that they're seeing. And that's what happens in this episode.
But I mean, like, even in terms of like just the way that like the scenes play out where, you know, she's having a conversation with her, you know, imaginary friend, her head character, and then she's also having a conversation with the people in the scene and they don't know who she's talking to, like that kind of thing.
Yes, everyone goes through that. That's a normal thing that happens in life.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is the big fight scene in this episode, and I'm not exactly sure that they've nailed the hand-to-hand combat on this scale.
My wife said to me, "I don't think this isn't working." And I was like, here's this isn't like a Netflix superhero show, like fight choreography. Like this isn't this isn't great. Like this looks like people who are wearing tons of prosthetics on their face, who are barely able to see, working their way through fight choreography.
Yeah. You know who they should have gotten to direct this episode is Doug Erniakowski, because the fight scenes in Highlander Endgame are amazing.
Yeah, and remember how in Highlander Endgame they were all wearing full Klingon makeup?
Yeah, okay, I see your point.
Okay.
I see your point.
All right.
Yeah, there's some challenges involved with that.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah. But for the most part, I think that this episode is very well directed.
I have no problems with it, aside from that one fake split screen shot.
I like that shot, and it's very stylish in general. It seems like a thing that they do rather frequently in this episode is like have the camera tilted sideways to start a scene or a shot, and then like flip it around in some sort of weird way to get it, you know, upright. But I like that. Yeah. So here's I don't know who this is. Who do you think it could be?
Oh, 100%. It's Worf. Yeah, okay. Definitely.
I do love that little bubble thing that she throws that guy into.
Yeah, what the hell is that? I
don't know, but it was really goofy looking, and I'm like, hey, that's
it reminded me of that one shot in Superman 2 where he like throws the S, and it's like, that's not a thing.
He has an S, and then he throws it. Yeah,
that's not a thing. You can't just make up a new thing. Also, what's with the Klingons having like that as soon as he like turned on that like taser thing, I was like, oh my god, that is the weapon that Darth Maul would have if he were a mall cop. If he was Darth Maul cop, that would be his weapon.
Okay.
I mean, it's perfect, right? A double-sided taser. Am I wrong? I mean, come on.
No, you're not wrong. I just never thought of that as being a thing. But now that
you never thought about what it would be like if Darth Maul were a mall security guard and there was a movie about that?
I never thought about that, but now I will.
It's basically like a reverse observe and report.
Yeah. I would watch that movie.
All right.
I mean, they should
that spin-off, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
We can't kill this guy. So, I mean, let's give him a new job. Let's have him turn his life around. He hit rock bottom a while ago. Obi-Wan Kenobi cut him in half 2 ways.
And then he hit rock bottom after that because he got thrown down that hole.
He had to be reassembled a number of times.
Yep. Yep. Oh boy, Darth Maul.
What are we talking about? Oh, Tilly's on screen. I love Tilly.
Yeah, she's the best.
Yeah.
we totally missed it because we were talking about something else in that scene. But Linus makes another appearance here.
Oh, yeah.
He's really cool. And this actually goes back to something that we were talking about last week, which was missing important information in dialogue and why that happens. And I was thinking about like what it was about these signals, like, you know, because we talked last week about how I wasn't fully grasping like what was going on with them because it felt lost in the dialogue. It felt like I was missing something. And I went back and rewatched the scene specifically to pick up on, you know, what it was, like the premise of this show. And I realized while watching it why I missed that information. And the reason is because all of that information was given in the turbolift with Linus. And I wasn't focusing on anything other than Linus trying not to sneeze. And it's one of those things where Linus in the elevator is like the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
What information did you miss?
What I'm trying to say, what actually happened doesn't matter. What matters is that information was not conveyed well enough because it was conveyed in a moment when they were also playing a gag with Linus.
I fundamentally disagree. I think that's exactly how you dropped that information because I remember all that information.
Okay.
It was not important information. It was not interesting information.
Well, no, I think it may not have been interesting information, but it was important since that's kind of like the premise of the entire show. But it is definitely a problem. I mean, it's something like that happens in movies a lot. But the one example which I always think about is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in the dinner scene, where they're eating the monkey's brains and stuff like that. There's so much weird slapstick going on, which is way more entertaining than them talking about the history of the palace, that it took me years before I even bothered listening to what they were saying about the palace.
Well, there's like political intrigue and like conspiracies and subtext and stuff.
And you're not paying attention to any of it because you're just looking at whatever the next course is in this meal.
I disagree because when I saw that movie, I had my eyes covered so that I was only observing what was being said because I did not want to see another freaky thing on screen because I was like 7?
Yeah, 6 probably.
I don't know. I was a really little kid and I was freaked out, so I wasn't looking. I was like, oh man, I really hope those cult people aren't still around.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a weird scene. Because it's like, yes, we know from the previous scene that this is not real, right?
Oh yeah. My wife was like, those aren't real, right? And I'm like, here's the thing. I'm really hoping they are.
but you know that they aren't.
That would be rad. Like, I mean, if this is how they revealed Tyler's death, I'd be like, all right, Discovery, I am 100% on board. But I was on the fence before, but that was badass.
But see, that's the thing. And this is like I don't know. It's just a really, really weird choice because for one thing, you know that that's not the case because they pretty much not. They tell you like in the scene right before that it's not the case. But then, you know, at the same time, they're just like, oh, here's a baby head, you know, and it's like, what's going on? That is like a disturbing. And, you know, you could say like, well, you know that it's not real. And it's like, yeah, but you also know that Klingons aren't real, right? So at what point do we end up in a scenario, you know, like in the mirror scene from the end of Boogie Nights where Mark Wahlberg is pretending to be Marky Mark, pretending to be Eddie Adams, pretending to be Dirk Diggler, pretending to be Brock Landers, pretending to be Robert De Niro. And it's like, yes, this is true, but it's all fake, but that doesn't mean that it's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a weird choice. And you know, like, you hear all these people who are like really, really concerned about like how Tarantino.
Hold on.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here. You're about to say you hear about all these people. Who's the you in that sentence?
You do.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's the royal you. You hear about all these people who are, concerned about Tarantino making an R-rated Star Trek.
What?
Okay.
I do?
You do.
Oh my God. I did not know that.
And
I had heard that? Weird.
Yes, you've heard that. And, like the idea of like R-rated Star Trek doesn't have to be violent. And, that I feel like showing like someone just like holding a baby head, like that is like way, way, way more graphic or anything than anything that Tarantino would put in Star Trek.
I'll tell you what, man. There are two things. I saw that scene and I was like, okay, what I really want here is for her to like go back to her quarters and then like call up Giorgio and then deactivate the holographic emitter that was making her look like a Klingon because Giorgio killed all three of them.
But you knew that wasn't going to happen.
I was like, come on, let's go there. Let's make the ultimate twist occur where the characters that shaped a good chunk of season 1 were killed off screen.
It's just super weird that they did that. I don't know. And it was a choice, not one that I would have made. So this is the end of the episode now, and we kind of missed it there, but like there was the reveal of the Section 31 ship, and that Section 31 ship is super cool looking.
Yeah, when that was revealed, my reaction was a Section 31 ship.
Have you not seen Star Trek Into Darkness? It's the best, and you know it. But it
Can you cut that out? Can you cut that out? Because that was not a good thing to say.
Okay, all right. Anyway, the thing about it is like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm down with that ship, and like when they go on the bridge, and I'm just like, oh man. Now it's gotten to the point where it's like all I want to do is see this Giorgio show, I'm just kind of like, let's just get to that as quickly as we can. But
I wasn't sure if I was seeing this correctly, but does that ship have like some kind of rubbish cloaking technology?
I think it does. Yeah,
because I didn't really get a good look at it, but it looked like it was doing some sort of like, on the cheap stealth tech.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, did the ship in Into Darkness have it? I can't remember if that had cloaking technology. I guess not. Maybe it doesn't matter.
No.
But
remember the Accords? You can't violate those Accords.
But that shot where Giorgio like looks over at the baby and she's like, "Coochie coochie coo," and then Vogue like looks over at her and she's just like, "Ew, gross."
What are you gonna do? She likes babies,
I just think that's like one of my favorite moments in like the entire series because it's just adorable. Anyway,
I mean, hey, she likes babies. She just knows that they're a distraction and they get in the way of your career and your goals of global domination. Oh, sorry, galactic domination.
But here's another thing about that scene. I don't know, just something super bizarre that I saw like the first time, and now I can't take my eye off of it every time I see it. Just look at her shoes when she's walking across the. Did you see them?
Okay, here's the thing.
No. I'm not talking about like look at her shoes and like, oh, those are really great because they look like Air Jordan 4s or something like that. Like look at her shoes. It's like the toes are like twice as long as her feet, and they almost look like Bozo's shoes.
I've seen Into the Spider-Verse 3 times now.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
First time we saw
I've seen it 6 times.
First time we saw it, afterwards, you showed me a pair of shoes, and I got these Spider-Man shoes
That I was wearing at the time, right?
And I was like, well, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what that is. Okay,
Yeah.
those are some Spider-Man shoes.
Yeah.
And then I watched the movie again, and I was like, that's a pretty good movie. And I saw it a third time, and I was like, where have I seen Miles' shoes before?
Yeah.
And I realized, once again, for the millionth time in my life, I have realized I don't see feet. You could be wearing like bright hot pink cowboy boots, and I'm not gonna see them. Feet are naturally always wearing cloaking devices to me. I just don't see them.
Even when you're reading a Rob Liefeld comic?
Especially when I'm reading a Rob Liefeld comic. Okay. They might as well not even be drawn.
Okay. All right. Well, next time you watch this, take a look at her feet, and
it's not going to
see
happen
that her shoes are really, really weird.
It's not just sight; it's also memory. Feet leave my brain immediately after I think about them.
Okay. Well, should we wrap this up?
Absolutely. Let's stop talking about feet. What were we talking about?
All right. We're talking about checking out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. Live from the Edge with Bruce and Brandy. Postcards from the Edge with Amy. Full analysis on the Edge main show with Patrick. And Notes from the Edge with Chris. And of course, Tracks from the Edge with us. You'll find all of these in our main feed for the Edge or in the Trek FM master feed. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery, and the best place to do that is the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook, where Amy Nelson will collect your feedback for postcards from the Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at Trek FM or send us email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and choose the Edge. Max, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm on the internet.
J. Max Hegel, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
That checks out.
All right. You can find me on the internet, on Twitter in particular, at Mumbles3K, and you can also find both of us on filmdamagepod.com doing a show called Film Damage. We will get to that breakdown of the opening scene of Season 2. We just haven't gotten to it yet because Max has been so busy watching Into the Spider-Verse that he hasn't had time to see Glass yet, but sooner or later.
Hey, man, you've seen one episode of Game of Thrones.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to watch another episode of Game of Thrones just so that you can't keep throwing that back at me.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Guilt.
We'd also like to thank our associate producers, Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Puleo, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reutner, Ryan Malett, and Brian Malosh. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows going and even become an AP, visit patreon.com/trekfm for all the details. All right. Thanks for joining us. And until next week, remember that audio commentaries can be found on Analog Track 1.